what is 24 to double? Well, 24 to double is a step-by-step plan to double your average weekly attendance in just 24 months. We call it the inverse conference model. Now, don't get me wrong, Jerry and I, we both love church conferences. In fact, we go to a bunch of them. You'll probably see us at some throughout the years. I even led the Catalyst teams for several years. We love that model. The problem is you go to a conference, you hear some super pastor talk about what he's doing to grow his church. You get excited about it. You hear a couple of nuggets and you come back and you think, what do I do with it? And we wanted to flip that model on its head. And that's what we did. So instead of bringing your team to a conference, we're bringing the conference to you right in your church, because all 24 modules of 24 to double are delivered right through our membership platform. Each month you'll bring your team together, watch the module, and then take action. And here's what the platform contains. Every month you're going to have a module video, which is here. You'll get the presentation information that goes with that module along with the handouts, which you'll see here for download. There's an audio of the module here so you can listen to it while you're on the road or at the gym or mowing grass, whatever it is that you do. We wanted you to be able to take the content with you. And then finally, you're going to have another video, which is the module at 2 times speed. We know how important it is for you to be able to do this in an efficient manner, and we want to make every effort that we can to make this as accessible as possible. You'll learn how to build the 7 teams you need to grow your church. Briefly, here's what those teams are. The outreach team. This is the team that does nothing but focus on how to get people to your church for the first time. The WOW team. The WOW team is focused on making sure that people that come for the first time or the second time or the third time have a good experience. I don't know if you remember, Pastor, the last time you went somewhere for the first time and you didn't know anybody, but it is an incredibly weird experience, and this team is going to de-weirdify it. The Shock and Awe team focuses on the environment that you're creating for worship so that people feel comfortable and really don't think about the environment that much. This is everything from the facilities to the lighting. That team's going to focus on that. The worship team, you know who your worship team is. What we're going to help you do is take your worship to the next level. No, we're not going to teach you how to do a theology of worship. We're not going to talk about your worship style. What we are going to do is we're going to encourage and compel you to take your worship to the next level, no matter what that style is. The follow-up team, if you're like most churches, you are doing an unfair job in this area of following up with people. We put a lot of effort into getting people to come to church for the first time, but almost none in getting them to come back. Children's ministry, you and I both know that this team is one of the most critical teams that you can have in your church. Children's ministry makes a church sticky, and you have to have people with a heart for kids and a heart for the next generation driving this ministry. We're going to teach you how to do that. Team number 7 is small groups. Most people, when they come back to church or they come to church for the first time, they aren't looking for Jesus. That may be shocking to you. What they are looking for is something much more selfish than that. They're looking for personal connections with people that are at a similar life stage. That's why they're coming back to church. And we want to be able to give them that in small group. This team's going to do nothing but focus on how do you get people out of rows and into circles. You're going to learn how to use spiritual gifts to build those teams. We have a proprietary spiritual and gifts and passions test that you're going to have access to that's going to help people understand who God created them to be and where they fit in ministry in your church. Now, that's critical for a couple of reasons. Number one, it helps you avoid volunteer burnout. And you know what happens when volunteers burn out, right, Pastor? They don't go back into rows. They go to another church. When volunteers burn out, they don't want to show up and know that they've disappointed you, so they go somewhere else. The other thing it's going to do is it's going to help people have a passionate volunteer ministry of their own, which is an incredible gift that you're giving them when you engage that. And then the last thing is we're going to leverage big events to double your church. We're going to show you how to do that better. Many of you are doing Christmas and Easter, but what you're not doing is great lead up to, execution, and follow up of those events. We're going to spend a lot of time focusing on that so that you can double your church just through 4 big events a year. And everything's going to be delivered the same way you're watching this training right now, because we believe the most efficient way to grow your church is you leading the conversation with your team inside of your church. 24 to double is also incredibly cost effective. Now, I get pretty fired up about this part right here because technology has allowed us to do something that's just incredible with this training. So let me give you a little bit of history. Iteration number 1 of 24 to Double involved Dr. Owen Weston, who is the founder of 24 to Double, coming into Daystar to teach Jerry and his team the 24 to Double model. Now, what would happen is every month for 6 months, Dr. Weston would come in. He charged $3,500 plus his travel costs. So iteration number 1 of 24 to Double was about $5,000 per month over a 6-month period. You're looking at $30,000 to $35,000 for that investment. Now, I think if you ask Jerry today, was it worth it? Was it a good investment? I think he would tell you 100%, 100-fold that this was a good investment in their time and their resources, having the team training coming in from Dr. Weston. Now, iteration number 2 was when Jerry approached Dr. Weston and said, hey, we get it. We understand what's going on with 24 to Double. We understand the power of it. How do we get this to more churches? And he and Dr. Weston sat down and they thought, okay, a better model might be, instead of us going out and visiting these churches, maybe we could have them come to a central location. And Jerry offered up Daystar to do that because it was working so well in practical application. And so what they did was they had a couple hundred churches start coming in, and they were teaching them the 24 to Double model. And what they charged at the time was $199 a month. But with travel cost and putting food in their belly and that kind of thing, we figured that the average cost per church was about $540 per month, each month over a 2-year period, which is about a $12,000 investment over 2 years. Now, still an incredible investment. If your church is in decline and all of a sudden you're growing or even doubling, you can imagine the kind of energy that would go around that, and you would look at that investment and say, that was some of the best money that we ever spent. But I'm really excited to say that we wanted to go back and say, we reduced this thing from $5,000 to $540, which is almost a 90% reduction in cost. That's incredible. Anytime you can do that with anything, that's incredible. To do it with this kind of information that has the power to impact an entire community is just phenomenal. But as we began to look at the model that we were using, the live event model, it had some significant challenges with it. Number 1, geography. Coming to Coleman, Alabama once a month is a really difficult thing. And the farther you get away from Coleman, the lower the probability it is. And so there was a limited effect. So what we thought, can we take this content, put it online, and reach more churches? And in fact, we could. And I'm excited to say that in iteration number 3 of 24 to Double, we were able to reduce the cost by another 81%. And so right now in iteration number 3 of 24 to Double, completed 100% online, you can get it for just $99 a month. And all you got to do is click the link just below this to get started. Now, I want to say this as we're moving through this process. We are not asking for you to make a 24-month commitment right now. What we are asking is for you to kick the tires, to call a meeting with your team, and just have a conversation. In fact, the first thing you're going to get from us after you sign up for 24 to Double is a meeting agenda for that meeting. It's a 1-hour meeting agenda with a message from Jerry and a step-by-step how to walk your team through this decision-making process, because it would be foolish of you to make this decision on your own. So all we're asking you to do today is to sign up for the free trial. After 12 days, you're going to get an email from me that says, get out, because we want you all the way in, or we want you out. We want pastors that are committed to this process, that are willing to walk this journey with us. So go ahead and click the button and get started now if you're interested. So here's our promise to you. We got 4 promises. That's a lot of promises, I know. Promise number 1, 14-day free trial. I just mentioned that. 12 days after you get started, I will send you an email that says get out. 60-day money-back guarantee, no questions asked. After 60 days, if this is just not for your church, or things changed in your church, or it's not what you thought, email us, no questions asked. We'll refund every bit of money that you've invested to that point. And then the big promise is this. If you implement 24 to Double in the next 24 months and you're not satisfied with the results, we'll refund your entire investment. Now, there are some questions on that. You have got to dig into this thing. You've got to put the meetings together. You've got to put the plans in place. And if you do that and it doesn't work, we'll give you your money back. But here's what we know. We know that every single pastor that engages us with their church sees significant results that they may not have seen in 25, 30, or 50 years. We know that this works if you work it. And then the last promise is this. There's no contracts. You can cancel at any time. If things change in your church in 6 months and you need to get out, all you got to do is let us know and we'll let you out. There's no fee for getting out or anything like that. Now, let me pause for just a second and tell you who 24 to Double is not for. It's not for everybody. We know that. And the majority of the pastors on this call are not going to be ready to do this right now. It's definitely not for the easy button pastors. The real cost of 24 to Double is going to be spent in influence, not in dollars. This is really not that expensive a program for what we're talking about. But if you think this is a plug and play, you couldn't be more wrong. You are going to have to spend some of that change in your pocket. It's not for the lone wolf pastor, the pastor that wants to sit in his office and study a bunch of information but not put anything into practice. This is not for you. This is an all skate. This has to be done with your team if it's going to work. This is about taking the burden of ministry off of your shoulders and putting it where God wants it, which is on the shoulders of the people that he created to do that ministry. It's not for the pastors that are heavy on talk and short on action. If you're sick and tired of talking about doing something and you're ready to do it, we are ready to be in this with you. Now, let me tell you who 24 to Double is absolutely for, the kind of pastors we want to partner with. The Gap pastor. No, I'm not talking about a pastor that shops at the Gap. We're talking about a gap between the ministry that you are called to and the one that you're experiencing, and you're ready to do something about it. It's for the pastor that's tried everything else. He's gone to the conferences. He's done the coaching networks. He's read the books, but he's looking for something that he can bring in and experience with his team to take the burden of this off of himself. Because here's the bottom line is, the secret sauce of 24 to Double is for you to refuse to do it all by yourself. You have to refuse that and resist it at every turn with this. And you've got to partner with your church to reach lost people. That is the absolutely only way to grow your church. If that's you, pastor, I want you to go ahead and click the button below and get started now. Now, here's the bonuses if you register now. We're actually going to throw 8 sermon series notes at you. That's 34 individual messages that you're going to get just for kicking the tires of 24 to Double. They are messages like 30 Days to Live, Got Junk, Crazy Love, Misfortune Cookies, Warrior, Generosity, and a couple others. And these are notes along with stage notes that Jerry prepared himself. Now, he is meticulous with his sermon preparation, so you're definitely going to want to take advantage of those notes. Bonus number 2 is you're going to get our free Gifts and Passions test. I talked about this a little bit earlier, but this is the test that we use to get the right people in the right spaces in your ministry environments. And then bonus number 3 is a series of lab videos. The first one is a worship lab with Pastor Ben Murray, who's the lead worship pastor at Jerry's church. Now, this is not how to do the worship ministry. This is how to take your worship to the next level with a guy who has taken Jerry's worship to the next level. You're also going to get a church facelift lab, which is Lance Self teaching this, who's the executive pastor at Daystar, talking about how they redid their church on a budget to make it look and feel fresher. And then the last thing is you're going to get a lab on the pastor's breakfast. We cover this in a couple of the modules, but this is a deep dive into how to pull off this environment where we take people out of those rows, put them in an environment, give them the spiritual gifts and passion survey, and then move them into volunteer ministry in small groups. And you're going to get all that just for clicking the button and getting started right now.